Hey, everyone. Renee Carbone Fleming here, and welcome again to the Unapologetically Badass Podcast. I am thrilled to introduce you to a friend of mine who I've known for over 7 years. We're not the closest as far as knowing each other's journeys, but I've always admired her resilience and her grit. And we're going to have such an amazing conversation today. We are talking beyond the bullshit, owning your story and rewriting the rules with Heather McNally. So listen, what if your story you've been telling yourself is the very thing keeping you stuck? In this unapologetically raw episode, I sit down with master certified life coach, speaker, and soon to be published author Heather McNally, a woman who's turned her trauma into transformation and her past into pure power. From surviving an abusive childhood filled with shame and self-doubt to becoming the bold, truth-telling coach she is today. Heather shares how she smashed through the lies she believed about herself and how you can do the same. We're talking turning pain into purpose, busting through limiting beliefs, aka BS, how to stop being a prisoner of your past and start designing a future you're obsessed with, the brain science behind belief systems and how to rewire them, why falling in love with yourself is the most rebellious thing you can do. So if you've ever felt stuck in your own damn head, Heather's truth bombs will crack you open in all the right ways. This is your permission slip you've been waiting for to own your story, change your life, and step into the next chapter on your terms. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Unapologetically Badass Podcast. I am Renee Carbone Fleming, your host and founder of the Badass Queen brand. And I am so thrilled to have a good friend of mine, the fabulous Heather McNally here. We are going to talk about, we're basically calling this Beyond the Bullshit. Owning your story and rewriting the rules with Heather McNally. Now, I have known Heather for many years. She was, in fact, part of my Touchstone Crystal organization for a while. And as life evolved and she evolved and changed, her and I we started doing other things. And there's so much that I've learned and so much that I don't know. So I'm really excited because I know her story is really going to make you just go, wow, holy shit. So Heather, thank you so much for coming on. Hi, sweetie.
Hi, Renee. Oh my God. Thank you so much for having me. I'm absolutely honored to be on here. And I know we're going to have a blast here because, we both like to drop the bomb and, and we just have similar, thoughts and humor, sense of humor and everything. I know we're going to have a great time with the truth and, being us.
Absolutely. Unapologetically badass bitches. That's for sure. In all the good ways. When I say that, I don't mean to, yeah. Okay. I just want to clarify that for the audience. When I call someone a bitch, it's a very, for me, it's a very affectionate, love you. You're the sister. Yeah. I know you get it, but some people listening will be like, what the hell is she calling her just a bitch for? So tell us, okay, so why don't you just tell the audience a little bit about you, and then we'll dive into kind of where you were in your journey.
Okay, so my name is Heather McNally. I call myself a life fulfillment coach because I want all women to feel fulfilled in their lives, no matter where you're coming from. And I'm now a speaker and an author and a very soon to be, or depending on when this drops, already published collective author collaborative book called Rise. And it's got my story in it, along with the stories of 6 other fabulous women. I am a mom of 2 young adult males, 2 boys. They'll always be my little boys, even though they're men. They're 23 and 19. I live in Massachusetts, and my boys, one lives in Vermont now, and the other one's moving into a house out in Michigan for his second year of college. I am married to my husband, my best friend, Dan. We've been together now 35 years and married 30. Wow. Yeah, right? Because I'm so old. And that's why I keep doing things like putting pink in my hair because I'm not that
Oh,
old.
I
But
applaud that
honestly,
so much. I just have to like, I just love that. Like, there's so many coming from, I'm divorced. I admit a lot of people know that. I always like, I've such an appreciation for couples that, make it through. It's just like, it's so beautiful having
yeah,
being best friends. So congrats.
it's thank you. It's amazing. Don't get me wrong. There are times that I look at him and I'm like,
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
but he really is my best friend. And the great thing is that, we met right before I turned 18. And the great thing is that he's still my best friend. We've been fortunate enough to grow together because marriage is work. Every relationship is work.
Yeah.
There's not any relationship, friendship, anything that you don't go through your ups and downs, the roller coasters of life. He's my rock, but he's also sometimes the one that knows exactly how to push my buttons and say it the other way. But we've grown together, and the great thing is now that, we're empty nesters, we've actually started like going out to the movies together again and not having to worry about what anybody else wants for dinner and all that. And now we can travel, and it doesn't have to be during school vacations and things like that. And it's like we're finding this new freedom, and it's really great. And we are just very fortunate that we've worked hard on keeping the communication, still being best friends through every up and down. And I don't know where I'd be without him.
I love that. I love that. So tell us, like, okay, so I know that you had a tumultuous childhood.
Yep.
Why don't we, like, want to share what you would love to share about that? Like, I know a lot of this is personal, and our audience obviously really resonates and admires that with our guests.
Yeah, I'm definitely I'm pretty much an open book because I've learned so much because of what I've gone through.
Yeah.
So that's my whole thing. And I know it's kind of a cliche, you grow through what you go through, but it's so true. So for me, I've taken all the lessons of everything, and that's what I do now. So I grew up in a household with a very abusive father. He was physically, emotionally, verbally abusive to myself and my brother, who's 5 years younger than me. And my mother, I never saw a single bruise on her. I never saw him lay his hands on her, but he was very emotionally and verbally abusive with her as well. And it's kind of interesting because I loved my mom fiercely. And
Mhm.
my mom stayed with my father the entire her whole life. Unfortunately, she passed away almost 9 years ago now, but I learned a lot through all of it. And so, yes, growing up abused, we get limiting beliefs in our lives by the time we're 7 years old. So I believed everything he told me. So my beliefs were I was not worthy. I shouldn't be seen or heard. I was the problem. I had to do everything I could to make other people happy. I could never do anything to make him happy. And I mean, to the point where he would actually, kids, your world when you're a child is egocentric. And hopefully you grow out of that. But it has to be when you're young because you're learning
Yeah.
the rules of society, how to survive.
Mhm.
And how to survive is by taking in everything that you hear from other people, the adults in your life, your teachers, your friends, other family members, and it goes into your brain. And that's who you are. So who I was unworthy. I was the one who, as a kid, when you're egocentric like that, because you have to be, you believe everything's your fault, or you're to blame or to thank for everything, right? Because it's all your fault. Well, I was actually told everything was my fault. And I
Wow.
was told, if your mother and I get a divorce, it's your fault, don't you? And I say it doesn't sound like I'm upset, but I truly have done so much work
Right.
to get past that
Right. Right.
and to learn from it and to know that, no, it's not my fault, but I believed it.
Yeah.
I mean, there I am, an 8-year-old child or whatever age I was, him screaming over me, sweating, spitting out of his mouth while he's screaming, sweat pouring down him, and you're terrified. So that's what you believe. I believed I was a piece of crap. I didn't deserve to be seen, heard, known, liked, loved. And
Yeah.
that's what I put all in my brain for years and years. And you know, I identified as what I saw him as because I look a lot like him. So I thought he was a monster. And so I was a monster. And I
Wow.
referred to myself that way. 2 people verbally out loud. So, unfortunately, there were times in my life I didn't wanna live. I understand suicidal ideation. I understand the feeling that it's never gonna get better. It's never gonna change. I'm always gonna be stuck here. Nobody cares about me. Nobody loves me. Even when I knew there were people who loved me, I didn't believe I was worth it at all.
Mm. And that had to have translated into strenuous, if even possible, relationships as a
Oh,
child
yeah,
and teenager,
yeah.
right?
And
How
then
was
it was
school for you? Was
what's
that
that?
how was like school for you? Were you hesitant to bring people into the house? Are you know,
So I had friends in school, and I even had a friend down the street that like we could ride bikes to each other's house. But every time people came over, he always started something. And I was always looking to people please. I wanted to make him happy so that he wouldn't yell at me or hit me or, whatever. And so they'd come over and I'd be like, do you mind cleaning the house with me? And then he'd see me clean the house and we were doing it wrong and I was dusting wrong and I was ruining the furniture and ruining everything. And my friend would leave and I'd be stuck at home going in my room crying as always. So like I hid from him as much as humanly possible. I didn't want to be around him, but it was interesting because I knew that I was terrified of him. I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know what when I was young. It wasn't until I started getting like high school and a little older that I really understood that other people's families didn't have this.
yeah,
So I had my friends at school, but they'd all get to go and do stuff on the weekends. I was occasionally allowed to do certain things, but there was always, um, I'd have to get back in the car and he'd smell my breath and check my clothes and do all this stuff. And I'm like, I didn't do anything. And I'd still get screamed at. Um, you know, a lot of my friends back in the 80s smoked.
yeah.
If I was around them, he'd accuse me of smoking. And then
Mm,
I get, in trouble for that. And I wasn't smoking. And, there was always, I know I'm going to get in trouble for something, even if I didn't do it. I even got in trouble because my father would find something that my brother did wrong. And I'd get blamed for it because you're the eldest. You should have known he was doing it.
oh my gosh, yeah,
So
yeah,
it was everything. And so, I had friendships and everything, but they all have all these memories of a lot of like parties and gatherings and things like that. And I didn't get to participate in any of that. As a matter of fact, one of my good friends at the time called my father directly to ask if I could go to a concert because she didn't want me to get in trouble for asking. And I still got in trouble because she went to
mm,
him and he thought that I put her up to it and I was starting trouble, trying to
mm,
make him look bad. So it was just like nothing. I could do nothing right. But I had like a weird dichotomy because I had my mom who was obviously a flawed human being as we all
yeah,
are, and she stayed unfortunately in this relationship, but she gave me the good side of life. Like she
yeah,
gave me love until she got to a point where, as a young child she always told me she loved me and hugged me, but as she got more older and the abuse got worse and worse, and as my brother and I got older, she started to shut down emotionally. So but she still, I had her family. So I did have that kind of dichotomy of I knew there was love, I knew there was something else,
yeah, yeah,
which I think is part of what kept me sane.
yeah. And is your father still living, or is
Unfortunately, I believe he is. So my mom, like I said, she passed away. October will have been 9 years. I spoke with him for a little while after that, and then I finally was like, I don't need this in my life, and I'm not even angry anymore. I just don't want this. Every
oh,
time he would come around, he'd start trouble with somebody, always starting a fight with somebody, and I was like, I'm done. And I was able to tell him very calmly, because I had worked through so much. I mean, but that was, I am now about to turn 53. That was 9 years ago. And no, it was 8 years ago because it was a little after my mom passed. And it took me all that time to get to that point where I could say it to him calmly with no anger and just doing it for myself.
yeah, yeah,
So I do now speak to some of his family, which I didn't even know existed until I was 42.
mhm,
Um, yeah, that's a whole story.
wow,
And so I do know that he still speaks to his sister that's still living. So I know that I'll probably hear that way when he passes, but no, I don't speak to him.
Wow. Does he have a relationship with your brother?
Nope, they stopped speaking before I stopped speaking to him.
Wow. So your father has heard from both you and your brother as far as,
We were done.
you're done.
Yep,
Wow. That
yep,
it takes a lot, and I give you credit to get to that healing point and help yourself heal, because so
yeah,
many people stay in a position of those beliefs because
yeah,
that's what we were told.
right,
And, it is hard to get through that sometimes. Sometimes they can't
yeah.
see the forest through the trees type
Yeah,
thing,
and
right?
truthfully, most people come out of an abusive relationship, and not that they seek that, but that's what they tend to fall into. They
Right.
fall in patterns, and for that, I'm super grateful that I didn't follow that pattern. And I guess there was just something in me that was like, no, I don't want this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm super grateful for that, and I'm proud of myself for getting myself out of it,
Right.
which,
Right.
I wouldn't have said even probably 15 years ago,
Yeah.
but now
Yeah.
I can say it.
Yeah, and for you being so open and honest with this, because so many people do actually or can relate to this,
Yeah.
and the fact that you grew through this with your husband, who was by your side through all of it
Yeah.
and saw the good, the bad, the ugly, and the tears,
Yeah.
and, helped you get help. Um, so you started taking care of your mom too,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
you were caretaker, weren't
Yep.
you?
That sandwich generation, but earlier than most people, because
Yeah.
my mom at the age of 40 developed wet macular degeneration, which that was, oh my God, I was 14 or so. So that was 100 years ago.
Wow.
And they didn't really know much about it then. So she woke up one day and she was like, I have this like just circle in the center of my eye that's black. So she started getting, doctor's appointments, and they finally figured out that's what it was. And unfortunately, like I said, they didn't have treatments like they do now where you can get injections and things like that.
Yeah.
So they did some laser therapy, and that actually made it worse. So then she had like flashing lights in her eyes. So my mom was a school teacher her entire career. At the age of 40, she couldn't drive anymore. She's legally blind. So she was fortunate to find people that would come and pick her up and bring her home and stuff like that. And she still worked. She got an aide, a one-on-one aide for herself in the classroom. She got help from the what is it called? The Mass something for the blind, Commission for the Blind. So
Okay.
they got this big machine that she could put papers under, and a magnifying glass. She carried a magnifying glass and light everywhere with her, like flashlight.
Yeah.
So at age 40, this happens. And we were always told that she had asthma. And one of my aunts and I in particular kept saying, "But asthma doesn't act like this." She was always coughing stuff up. She was always sick. And she would take the albuterol and it would help her airways open, but she was still like just sick. And so finally at 55, she was being followed by a pulmonologist, and they just kept saying asthma, asthma, asthma. Well, at 55, she had to retire because it was getting kind of bad. So she's still seeing her pulmonologist. She's, being told she's sick. She goes in the hospital with a pneumonia and comes out after 11 days in the hospital with a diagnosis of advanced COPD. Now,
Mm.
that is something that typically comes on by smoking,
Yeah.
secondhand smoke, or maybe an environment that you worked in. But my mom never smoked. My father didn't smoke. No family or friends smoked. There was none of it. And she was a school teacher. Turns out her youngest sibling also has COPD, so they know that there has to be some kind of genetic factor here. She was being treated. I forced her to go to Brigham and Women's, which is a massive,
Oh,
very well-known hospital in
amazing
Boston.
hospital.
Yeah, and they worked her up, and this woman had been being told that, there's nothing else we can do, just keep treating the symptoms. And I finally said, we need to get you into Brigham, and I'm taking you. That's it. Get in my truck, we're going. And we went, and she walked in on 6 liters of oxygen, constantly coughing stuff up, walked out, A, on 1 liter of oxygen, B, nothing's coughing up, and C, they actually said, you're an amazing candidate for a lung transplant. So, long story, she ended up getting it at the age of 65, lived for 4 years and 4 months after that. But it affects you in a lot of ways. And they said with a lung transplant, you're trading one disease for another. So she ended up eventually, because of the medication she was on, going into renal failure, had to
Mm,
go on dialysis, and a real long story. But the great things I was able to do is be there with her and for her for every single appointment. I
right.
did her medication weekly. We talked a million times a day, and I was able to advocate for her when she couldn't do it for herself. There were times that the medications really just zapped her of her energy, dried her out. She had weird reactions to certain medications.
Yeah.
And so I learned so much through that about choice,
Hmm.
because in the end, she was able to make that choice to stop her treatments, about advocating for somebody, about really truly living in it, when she literally had to have feeding tubes or chest tube cleaned. Like, I could have been a nurse by the time I was done with it all.
Wow.
And just developing communication with her team, um, grace in the decision to be able to say, this is what I've done and this is where I've gone. Because my mom was a fighter. She was fiercely independent. And I knew that last admission into the hospital, something was very, very different. And I actually had to fight to get them to do a CT scan of her brain, because I knew her brain, there was something wrong. And they were like, we don't expect to find anything, but we'll do it. It took me days to get them to do it. Finally did it, and they discovered I was right. Something was wrong with her brain. So I learned a lot about just advocating, standing up for yourself,
Yeah.
grace in the situation, just so much. And, you know, that honestly was the catalyst to me deciding to start a business, because I was like, throughout the whole thing, I would post things on Facebook and people would message me privately, like, I can't believe how strong you are. You have such a great real voice.
Yeah.
People need to hear this stuff, all the things I was saying. And it kind of just got in my ear. And I was like, I've always known I want to help people.
Hmm.
Maybe I can turn all of this pain and the learning through it all into something, because I had started doing so much work on myself through therapy, getting my own coach, doing my own work on, taking care of myself, like self-care, self-love, um, and just trying to build myself up and make myself happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, like I said, I hated myself. I loved my husband. I loved my kids. I loved my mom. I loved people in my life, but I
Yeah.
didn't love myself. I didn't even like myself.
Right.
So through all of this, I started really working on personal development and kind of becoming like, hmm, maybe I am strong.
Yeah. And
Maybe
this is
I am
all
kind
after
of
the
badass.
this is all after the age of 40, where you were like,
Oh
oh,
yeah, yeah.
right? Like, so I mean, I don't know if you,
My mom passed when I was 44. She passed
okay,
right
so
after my 44th birthday.
I do believe, my personal belief is that God puts us through something and
Mhm.
through our paths in order to get us to where we need to be. And all of those things are teachable
Yes.
moments and decades in order to get to the space where you're so mentally healthy,
Mhm.
physically healthy. You're able to then have these conversations with women, inspire women, walk them through it. So tell me more about your business and like, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to be a life coach. So talk to me about that.
So at first it was like, oh, I'm gonna write a blog, and it's gonna be something that I just post whenever I'm ready, when I have a story to tell, which, once you start talking, you have stories to tell,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
And
and that's the thing. I don't mean to interrupt, but that's what I love is that every woman has a story to
yeah,
tell. We can't go through this life unscathed. We just don't. That's impossible. So
nope,
it's what is your story?
right.
Because women, especially now, need to hear other women's stories. It's amazing how it brings people together. And I think that's
Mhm.
one part of social media that's a good part of social media is the fact that when we share authentically, and it's not without the like, it's not like I'm saying we have to share all of our
Right.
personal drama and history. Like we don't have to spew that. But when I kind of started telling people that I'm estranged from my youngest daughter, because
Mhm.
that's a huge, that was a huge
Yeah.
embarrassment. What are people going to think? Am I a bad mom? Like all of those feelings that we put on ourselves because it's
Yep.
like, what the fuck did I
Right.
my God, I want to fix it. What do
Yeah.
you mean? What do you mean you don't like me? What do you mean you don't want me in your life? Right. But when I started to share that accidentally, but I can't say accidentally, like I didn't go on,
Yeah.
but yeah, so when I started sharing that, I shared a little bit. It was sad and
Yeah.
amazing and helped me actually hearing so many other women that have gone through it or are going through it. So don't you find that by sharing our stories, it also helps us heal?
100%. And so, like, I say to you, yeah, I'm an open book. And that's true. I'm being authentic. I'm being, this is my story. But
Yeah.
I'm using this story because this is what got me through my life. And this is who I've become because of it. And this is what, but it's, I'm not going to tell you my deep, dark secrets that maybe I'm not ready to share yet. And that's okay because you can keep things for yourself. But just connection. So I took a brain science whole program. And one of the 6 pillars of a healthy brain, and it's number one, is social connection and love.
Mm.
We as humans cannot survive without it. And I know there's been studies, and I wish I could remember what the study was now, but there was a study that I know that I learned when I was in my college getting my bachelor's degree in psychology that babies who were fed and had their basic, absolute most basic needs taken care of, but got no love and no hugging, no anything, no skin on skin, didn't thrive. And in
Mhm.
fact, they really had that failure to thrive because of it. We absolutely, as a human race, need connection.
Mhm.
And so connecting with somebody every single day is imperative. So to be able to connect through stories brings us together so quickly sometimes. You might meet somebody. I actually met somebody at a conference I was at, and I started talking to her, and we connected immediately about something that was personal to both of us.
Mhm.
And it was like, oh, and that's it. And then we've stayed in touch. So
Yeah.
that connection, it's so necessary. And for us to be able to tell our stories, we can help each other and lift each other up instead of being catty and tearing each other down.
Yeah.
I want authentic connections with women so that we can be there for each other and have that sister bond that, there's nothing like it. I love my husband. He's an amazing guy. He drives me crazy. We drive each other nuts. He's
Yeah.
my best friend, truly. But he doesn't understand what it's like to be a woman. And so to be able
Absolutely.
to have those connections with women and be like, oh my God, yes. And, just hold each other up
Yeah.
is so important. And I think that we've all been pitted against each other in the past with competition and how do you look and what are you wearing? And
Yeah.
that's I no thanks. I'm
Yeah.
I'm turning 53. I'm all set with that. I
Right.
I want to cheer the women on. I want to
Yeah.
be on their team.
Right? Isn't that is so true? And whether you're no women in the same field, like, a lot of us are coaches
Oh
or you had network marketing, direct sales, all of that. And
yeah.
so it's the like, oh gosh, like, are they going to do better than me? And I want it. So there is some of that competition. But for those of us that put our blinders on and lift each other up, because I am not everyone's cup of tea, and that's
Okay.
okay,
Yeah.
right? But
Yep.
that's the thing is we'll find our people. We will find the person you are aligned with.
Right.
It's all good. There's plenty of success for everyone as long as you release yourself from any expectation. We just want to have these conversations, talk about what's going on in somebody, and if we could be of resource. So if I'm meeting with a potential client and it doesn't seem like we're aligned based on what their goals are, then I can go, hey, you need to talk to my girl Heather because she could be the perfect coach for you.
Yeah.
So tell them a little bit more about what you do in your coaching.
Yeah, so my business is just called Heather McNally Enterprises. It used to be called Simply Live Positive, and that was kind of based on the fact that I wanted to live a positive life and I was turning my negatives into positives. But there is that like toxic positivity that people hear about, right? The kind of Pollyanna positivity of just be positive.
Yeah.
And I don't subscribe to that. So I ended up changing the name, and I might name a program after that.
Mhm.
But I decided to change it because I want people to know that, yes, I believe that you can live a very happy, healthy, fulfilled life and still feel the moments that are true shit. We have moments, and that's why I say my Facebook group is called Beyond BS with Heather McNally,
Mhm.
because I feel like it's beyond the belief systems. So the BS stands for belief systems also, that are ingrained upon us, and people don't even realize that through their whole lives sometimes.
Right.
So you're living on autopilot with these belief systems that you have running in your mind, and then you're like, wait, did I just say that? Kind of
Mhm.
thing.
Mhm.
Or they never realize it. So it's beyond BS for that, and it's beyond the bullshit that we tell ourselves, that society tells us, that everyone else tells us, that we end up living by. Like where you said, you were embarrassed when you and your daughter were no contact, and you felt like it was all on you. And I was like, well, no, it's not. But that's what you're in your head.
Mhm.
Your brain is like, oh, because our brain goes towards saving us. It's not here to be our friend. It's here to save us, literally. So you have the fear and the flight, or freeze response, which is your sympathetic nervous system. And you want to get into that parasympathetic nervous system where it's more relax and rest. That sympathetic nervous system and the freeze is actually really bad for us. So for me, it was like beyond the belief systems and beyond the bullshit to get to where, the heart of who you are.
Yeah.
And so what I love to do is I love to work with women who maybe they've been through trauma, all caps, just capital T, or all lowercase. Maybe they've, lost who they are. Maybe they have the worthiness issue. Maybe they never have loved themselves, or maybe they're just unfulfilled, but
Mhm.
they know something's missing. And so that's who I love to work with, is helping people recognize, because awareness is key. You
Yeah.
can't change anything if you're not aware that you're unhappy, that you're lost, that you have limiting belief systems, that you're believing what everyone else tells you,
Right.
that you're not living your own authentic life. So I'm not saying I'm going to turn your life into all flowers, because you have to feel those moments.
Mhm.
You lose somebody in your life, or you have a huge disappointment, feel it. Absolutely feel it. That's life. And we don't feel the good without the bad, unfortunately. But don't live there. Don't get
Right.
stuck there.
Yeah.
So I like to help people kind of recognize where they are, figure out who they want to be and what they want in their lives, and help them get there. And so I do that through my, coaching, but I also started speaking. I'm an author in a
Yeah.
collaborative book. And, if you told me even 10 years ago that this is where I'd be,
Right.
I would have been like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, people who had a voice were people who, maybe they had privilege in their life, or they had somebody who
Right.
opened the door for them. And now I realize, no, you do it yourself. You kick the door open.
Yep. Yep. Build the door, knock it down, do it yourself. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is, when I started the podcast,
Mhm.
or when I wrote the book, I, definitely we all struggle with our brain as much as we rewire and we do the
Yep.
work and mindset mastery. And,
Yep.
I know I'm good at correcting it and, seeing it, acknowledging it, and then go, okay, let's bring it back. Right. But whenever you do something bold,
Yes.
there's always, I think, going to be that agita feeling, which I
Mhm.
think is probably the sign that you're onto something good.
Yes.
But the, self-doubt, like, who the fuck am I to create a
Oh,
podcast?
yes.
Right? Who the fuck am I? Who do I think I am to write a book and
Imposter.
put it on Amazon? Like, who cares about Renee Carbone Fleming? Right? I was a housewife. I'm in Rhode Island. I'm not famous. I
Yeah.
don't have money. I don't have people like begging to know myself. So it comes with that. But then once you go like, no, you know what? It gives me agita. It's that uncomfortable, potentially successful feeling going like, I'm going to do it. And if I make an impact on one person,
Yes.
then I was meant to do that.
Yep.
Beautiful. Thank you, God, for putting me on that path. Right.
It's the purpose, it's that passion.
Yeah.
And it's like I would look at people like Tony Robbins, right? Now I'm not looking to become a Tony Robbins, but
Yeah.
I'm looking to help somebody, like you said. And I would look at him and I'd be like, oh, Like I could never even dream of getting to a quarter or an eighth of where he is. But
Yeah.
then you look back and you go, he was homeless.
Right.
He was, his car cut out. Like he walked up to his apartment. He had an eviction notice. We've all been through it,
Yep.
whatever that shit may be.
Right.
We've all experienced it. And it's the resilience and the grit of getting out of that. So
Mhm.
the grit to like work at it. And
Mhm.
then the resilience to have those moments where, yeah, okay, I'm feeling great. I did something. Oh, now I stepped back a little bit because we all do that too.
Oh my
And
God, it's like a
yeah,
daily thing, right? You go like, I'm on top of the world. I am a fucking badass. And then like a half hour later, something happens and you're like, what the
I'm
fuck
a
am I doing this for?
loser. Yeah.
Like, you then, and then you go, oh, okay, nope, I gotta do, nope, buckle up, right?
Yep.
It is a definite roller coaster for
Yeah.
sure,
We
right?
all do it. And like as one of my business coaches had said to me, she was like, okay, when you feel something, when you're making a decision about something and you're feeling anxious, nervous, the energy comes up, right?
Mhm.
Is it expansive or is it restrictive? Does it make you feel like, oh my God, I'm terrified, but I can't wait to do
Yeah,
it? Or is it like, oh, this is not aligned with me?
yeah,
And that's what you have to go with. And you have to feel that in your body.
right.
It's your brain is going to tell you, nope, it's new, it's scary, we don't want to do it, and easily back off. And that's a lot
Yeah.
of why people procrastinate and don't do the thing. But it's also like, I've learned to go, all right, is my body excited or is my body like, oh God, I don't want to do this because it's not right for me.
That's
And
a great
yeah,
lesson to teach people is to listen to your body.
yeah,
So many people play it safe. And
yeah.
and I'm sure you too have had so many
I did it
conversations
forever.
with people, right? Taking that 9 to 5 job and you're supposed to do this and this is how you're supposed to live. And this is what and then you go like, what this isn't like exciting. This doesn't feel me, right? But when we go like, oh my God, I can work 7 days a week. I don't give a shit. I love what I freaking do. Like this is fun. It's to me, it's not like, oh God, I gotta go do or oh, I'm gonna work on this while I'm sitting on the couch. We get to do things when we want to do it because we know it makes us feel good.
Yeah, yeah. And
You
the
know
thing
what?
is, like, it's beautiful that there's so many different career possibilities, right? And that everything is different. Like, because could you imagine how boring it would be if we all did the same thing and had
Right.
to do the same thing? So I've worked in offices. I was a stay-at-home mom for years, and now I have a business. And when you start a business, it's not easy to get
Right.
it started and everything, but you love it so much that it's worth any of the more headaches and the things that maybe you're not good at that you have to learn and whatever. But that all gives you resilience as well. And that all grows you and makes you stronger.
Yeah.
But there were moments absolutely where I was like, maybe I'll just get a 9 to 5 job. And then I was like, oh, after doing this, I can't. I just
Right.
can't. And
Well, and it's, a lot of people hold themselves back too because of what their family and friends are telling them,
yes.
or not even telling them, but when they don't say anything,
Yep.
sometimes silence speaks louder than words.
Oh, crickets are
So,
very loud sometimes.
I mean, I can't even express how little support I
Oh, yeah.
get. And
Yep.
I'm like, I feel like I'm the black sheep of the family because I have these big, grandiose personality and ideas and concepts and things that I'm doing. And people are like, so it is funny. And I understand why people are hesitant, but that's when, you come into their life and go, okay, we're going to fix this. We're going to get you to the point where you go, that's on them. That's their limiting beliefs that they are projecting on you. And that's a really important lesson for women to
And
know.
I think the other thing is like the difference between like therapy and coaching, right? So
There's a lot of
therapists,
similarities between
there's
therapy.
a lot of similarities, 100%, but there's also a big difference in terms of like if you're doing talk therapy because you just can't deal with your life at all, because you can't accept things that have happened, because you know, have mental health issues or mental illness. That's a different thing than
Yeah.
the coaching, where what we're focusing on is we may talk about what has happened in the past because we want to help you rewrite that story and look at it
Right.
differently. And we're going to focus on what we can do now and in the future
Yeah.
to make yourself so they can actually work in concert together,
Right.
where you can
Right.
have a therapist working on your mental health issues
Yeah.
and illnesses and just things that you may have survived, but now we're also going to move you forward to be able to grab that life. And like I said, I'm not trying to make it like, excuse my language, blowing sunshine up your ass. Like,
Right. Yeah.
it's not that. It's realistic, truly what you can do. And if I can be where I am now, and I know you hear this sometimes, and it's like, if I can do it, anybody can do it kind of thing. It's true because I was miserable. I was suicidal. I I used to, even when my kids were little, I used to tell my husband, you should just leave and go find a new wife and a better mom for my kids because
Wow.
I'm not good enough for them. I
Wow.
loved them,
Yeah.
but I wasn't good enough for them in my mind. I wasn't worth
Wow.
living, never mind raising somebody. So if
Yeah.
I can go from that to feeling empowered and talking about these things and helping other people do it, you can get out of the situation you're in.
I love that. And coaching, we always say, coaching accelerates success.
Yes.
So not doing it alone is really such an important factor.
Yeah.
As coaches, we're not therapists. We're not therapists. We're not going to help, get them through all of their ish. That's
Yeah.
what therapy is for.
Right.
But as coaches, right, it's a different process, but
Yeah.
it does have a lot of similarities in the fact that we are having these real life conversations and, it's community. And I think that's how I know that that's how you treat your clients, where it becomes this, yeah, you help them as a coach and they're a client, but they become friend. Like we genuinely care about women.
Right.
So it becomes less about business and more about helping women on their journey.
Yeah. It's truly a passion.
Yeah.
You know, I think that whatever you can do in life to have passion in your life, it may not be your job even. It
Right.
could be, your time, your extracurricular activities. It could be traveling the world. It could be just being out and connecting with nature. Whatever it is, find a passion that helps you feel fulfilled.
Yeah.
And, I'm fortunate that I'm able to use my passion for helping people to actually help them. But I have other passions too.
Yeah.
I love crafting. I love being out in nature. I love being at the ocean, but finding something that truly fills you up.
Yeah.
And like you were saying, coaching, and sometimes you're like, who am I and whatever, and how people look at it. I definitely have that.
Mhm.
And when I started saying I was doing life coaching, I'd be like, well, I'm a life coach. And they're like, what is that?
Yeah.
Now I'm a life fulfillment coach, a speaker, an author, and it's like, if
Oh,
you are afraid of saying that you're seeing a life coach, well, number one, that's nobody's business if you don't want to share it. And number two, if you're sharing it, be proud of yourself for working on yourself.
1000%.
Yeah.
1000%. I love that. I love seeing your journey.
Mm.
We've known each other for how long? How many? When
Oh,
did
God,
you? s-
7 years, maybe
I
8.
mean, yeah, that's a long time.
Yeah,
That's
it's
a
been
long
a while.
time. Yep. And watching you from, a little bit of afar, especially like through COVID. Like I didn't know a lot of the personal stuff.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
knew that there is some trauma, but at seeing going from selling product and even the crafts and doing things like that to now this, you definitely sound, look, appear with the level of confidence that I know this is the path that you're supposed to be on. Like I've seen that transition for you, that transformation, and I'm so super fucking proud of you. I think
you.
you are amazing woman and thrilled thrilled for your success.
Thank you so much, and I love seeing the same for you. And it was just funny because it's like, we Sparkle brought us together, and the connection continued through other iterations of who we are and what we're doing and who we're becoming.
Yeah.
And it's just so fun to watch you grow and to be growing, a little bit behind you in terms of where I'm at, but alongside you at the same time,
Yeah.
is just awesome.
I love it. Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
It's a lot of fun when we pay attention to the signs
Mm,
and allow ourselves to become the best version of ourselves.
yeah,
We have to give ourselves permission to become that, as
yeah,
scary as it can be.
yeah.
But once we do, it's like, oh my God, I
So
feel
freeing.
right. It's like we just feel fucking great
Yeah.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah. When I talk to people, when I coach somebody or I get off, a call with somebody about my coaching or get my own coaching or whatever,
Yeah.
I'm like on cloud 9.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're doing something that you just don't love,
Yeah.
you feel exhausted and depleted and you need to restore. I get off and I'm like, this is great. What can I do next?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just an amazing feeling.
I love that. Well, thank you so very much for
Thank
coming
you.
on. So excited for you. Where can they follow you? What should they do to contact you?
All right. So my website is pretty easy. It's heathermcnally.com. If you go on there, first of all, right towards the beginning, like on the first page there is a limiting belief finder
Mhm.
that you can take. It's free. So you just download that and you can do it right on your laptop computer. Um, just to kind of help you find where you might have limiting beliefs or places that you aren't really feeling that happy. So it helps you do that. It has a few journaling prompts and that has a page for journaling that you can print off and, make copies of if you don't want to buy a journal or, don't use paper, just
Yeah.
something,
Yeah.
lying for you.
Mhm.
So that's there. Also on my website, you can click on the link to buy my actual journal that I
Mhm.
created.
Mhm.
It's on Amazon called Soul Awakening, a journal for your inner universe. And basically, it's 200 pages that are just lined, but they all have on every page has either a journaling prompt, an affirmation, or a small action, thing that you can do to help yourself in life. So you can use it as a journal, you can use it as a bucket list, you can use it as a to do, what I love to call ta-da list. When you're done and you cross it off, you're like, I did it.
Ta-da.
Um,
I love that. Ta-da list. That's good.
and then there's the book, and it's called Rise. Um, how to find your people, power, and um, purpose towards success. And that will be on Amazon. And it's coming out, like I said, at the end of August. So depending on when this is actually posted, you might be able to find it already, or it might be on pre-sale.
Awesome.
So yeah, just having fun with it all and really trying to help people.
Fantastic. Well, thank you again. Thank you everyone for listening. Really appreciate the support, and make sure you go follow Heather McNally online as well. I am again Renee Carbone Fleming, and I can't wait to see you on the next Unapologetically Badass podcast. Have a great day, all. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.